Is SBF possibly just a puppet in this whole thing? Last night we had an amazing, and if you want to call it that, interview with SBF where it seemed like some more information came out, but it's really hard to decipher what is a lie, what is the truth. We're going to be talking about that and a lot more today in this video, so go ahead, smash your like button, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. This is Investing Bros. I am your host, Tim Warren, and I'm joined by my co-host, T. Shroom. How you doing this morning, T. Shroom?
Oh, so much better than I deserve. We got a juicy one for you folks.
Yeah, it's going to be good. This is the second episode ever of Investing Bros. And we came in at like the perfect time. First of all, we come in, our first episode, Bitcoin has a nice little rally after a very long time of a lot of down news. Our second day, SBF goes live trying to tell his side of the story. Jerome Powell gives remarks that gives us kind of an update on what's happening potentially in December with interest rate hikes. There's other news that is out there, but of course, those are the two big ones. It's gonna be a really, really fun show, but I'm excited. Let us know what you guys think in chat. I have an interesting thing. We're gonna talk about this a little bit more, but I had a little bit of a wrestle in my innards last night about what I feel about SBF. I think that he knows more than what he wants us to know, but at the same time, I think he knows less than what a lot of us think he actually knows. And I was wrestling when I was listening to some of the remarks he was making, and the easy answer is like he's just lying. He's just lying. And the reason why I think he's lying is because why in the world would all of these companies, these massive companies that are very intelligent, make deals with him and invest in his product if he was a babbling idiot, if he actually didn't know what was going on? Why would people make deals with him and invest so heavily in this company? There's no way. So this means he has to be a liar, right? Then I started to think about it. I'm not saying he's not lying. I think he is lying. But I started thinking about, is it possible that some of what he's saying is the truth and he's not actually as heavily involved as we think? And to kind of point to another scenario where there's a person in power that probably shouldn't be. And I want to be very careful with this because I do have a lot of respect. I respect the position of this individual.
Uh-oh.
But if we're being honest, he really shouldn't be there either. He's a puppet. Whether you voted for him or not.
Ooh. I think I know who you're talking about, Tim.
I think you know who I'm talking about as well. And I'm should I even say his name? Because then that would be, the just icing on the cake of what I'm talking about. The point is, people can be in power and get into positions as puppets when in all reality, someone else is pulling the string. Now, when it comes to SBF, I think that he's pulling some of the strings. I do think that he has power. I do think that he is a fraud. Like you look at some of these text messages or maybe his Twitter emails or whatever, where he's kind of telling people, "Oh yeah, I just played that game. All that woke nonsense. All the just sufficing. It's the game you got to play so people like you. It's all BS." So he clearly understands how to lie in the right opportunity and to make people think one thing so he can get ahead. He has that bone in his body, right? However, after listening to him, I think he knows where he can lie conveniently, and I think he knows what can get him off the hook. And I think that there's somebody else. I don't know if it's his parents. I don't know if it's those lawyers who are involved. I don't know if it's a name that we haven't even heard yet. But as much as it's really easy to just say he's lying, he's the evil, he's the scum of the earth, after watching that interview, and I want to hear more and I want to get more details, I actually walked away kind of thinking he still deserves to go to prison. A lot of other people deserve to go to prison as well, but he might not have been the ringleader that we thought he was. He actually might not be that intelligent, and it makes sense. A lot of times people who really want to corrupt and do these types of evil things, they don't want their face or their name anywhere near the front. So it's possible Samuel Bankman-Fried is just the front man. He's just the face who could take the fall if something went catastrophically wrong. And of course, that's exactly what happened. So let me know in chat. We're going to talk more about that. Let me know what you guys think. What about you, T-Shirt? And what is your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts swirling around in this head of mine, but essentially, I think it could be both. I think he's the CEO. At the end of the day, when you're the CEO, you're the one whose head's going to roll if something goes down, and obviously something went down. But that is not to say that he also isn't serving as a scapegoat right now for, potentially big banks. for boards of giant corporations, whether they be tech corporations or, who knows what kind of corporations. So I think that there's a little bit of truth to both. And we're going to talk about this a heck of a lot more. But this arguably wasn't even the biggest story of yesterday. There was something as big, if not bigger, in terms of how it actually impacts markets, not just the interesting mystique of it all. A huge market mover happened yesterday, and I'm not saying it's almost kind of coincidental. You're not seeing as much buzz around it because of this huge interview that the New York Times somehow had, and it was streaming on CNBC. The optics of all that was kind of strange, the branding mixture and all that kind of thing. But we got it. We got to watch, and you know what? One of my takes that I haven't seen anybody else talk about is SBF kind of reminded me of Mark Zuckerberg a little bit when he was in those Senate trials. He's just very just kind of. I mean, the best way to say it is just kind of like nerdy. He's just very, very nerdy when he talks. Like, it's hard to relate because he's just operating this giant corporation, this giant organization that nobody else is really on the ground operating something like that, so it's hard to relate. And I don't really know what that means, and I don't, because I think it could shed a little bit of light. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is the one pulling the strings. He owns 51% of Meta, right? Some would argue right now the way he's been pulling the strings over at Meta haven't been all that profitable. But it kind of shows that maybe SBF is the one who is really responsible for it all, if he sounds like Mark Zuckerberg in his diction. But that is all speculation, folks. Yeah. Let's get into a little bit of that. Did you have something?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to go engage with chat here for just a second, then we're going to jump into some more stuff. I do wonder, and I'll have to go back to watch this. Someone said black screen. They picked up what we were talking about, so they're engaging with chat. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly. I have to go back and watch what it opens with. Someone said maybe your thing will be no intro. I did start by talking about SBF. I didn't have a good morning thing in the beginning. I just talked about SBF, so I have to go back and watch, see what happened yesterday. Those of you who watched the stream yesterday, there was a cutoff at the end, and we don't even know why, because we were talking about it. We were bringing it down. T-shirt, when we were done talking and I gave the outro, he clicked end stream, but it must have, because there's a gap. Mm-hmm. You guys hear things probably 20 to 30 seconds behind what we're actually saying. So instead of cutting it off after I finished talking, it cut it off immediately. So you got the interruption in the middle of everything. So our apologies. We're still kind of figure this stuff out, but I didn't want to wish everybody a good morning. Let's read some names here. I did see someone say we got to fix this and get some green names in here. Just so you guys know, little update. If you guys didn't know YouTube, I'm still learning all the ins and outs of YouTube. I had phenomenal Smay when we were working over there with Crypto Jeb. Smay was our YouTube guru. Jeb had done a lot of stuff, but Smay was the one who really understood a heck of a lot of what was going on and knew what we need to do, all these different places. So I didn't have to get involved too much in the nitty-gritty details of YouTube's details. Upon research, we will not be monetized, so that means we won't have, you won't ever see ads. I'm assuming they won't see ads on our any of our content. You guys won't there won't be a membership. You won't be able to super chat until we're monetized. And to be monetized, we have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch time hours. So what's great is we only produced one show. This is going to be the second, but we're already sitting at over 430 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you guys so much. It's very humbling to me, and it makes me feel so loved and encouraged and supported by you guys. So thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. We told you guys yesterday, this is even though we're the faces of this channel, this is not a T-Shroom and Tim channel. This is a us channel. We want to grow this community of people who want to invest and better their lives. But the other one is, I think we had sitting close to about 200 watch time hours from that video. So with that math, we're sitting about a month and a half. We if we keep our current trajectory, we should be monetized and be able to have a community group, and you guys should be able to super chat, and we can have green names. We should be able to do all of that in about a month and a half if things go as planned. Obviously, Christmas is coming up, so we're going to have a couple shows there we're not shooting, so that'll throw off the numbers a little bit.
Yeah. Did you know, Tim, that there is something that folks can do right now to help us get to that finish line even faster? What do you think that is?
I have absolutely no idea.
Hit the like button.
Oh, yeah, the like button. There we go.
Go ahead and, and share. Sharing is one that people don't talk about much on YouTube. But if you share this video, I know it's a long 1 hour video, but, maybe you have some friends out there who are interested. Share it. It really helps a lot. Goes a long way. And hit the notification bell as well.
Yeah. Well, let's do some more of this. Let's read chat and see. I asked you guys, what is your thoughts about SBF? I told you guys, anyone who just joined in, I still think he's a liar, and I think he deserves to, and more than likely will end up serving prison time of some sort. The question is he the ringleader? And I actually walked away from that whole interview, the whole process, saying he's absolutely lying about details. But I think there's details he's telling the truth. I think that he's a puppet. The question is, he's just such a bad liar. So it's really hard to know. He's bad at lying is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So I don't know who, and he's not going to reveal the right faces. He probably knows that his life depends on that. That's the sad truth of the matter. But I want to hear what you guys think. I see here Brakoshi no dinero. I'm hoping that's pronounced correctly. I don't know. He says he's intelligent, understands everything, but the way to go when you get caught is deny, deny, deny. That's absolutely true. It is. But here's when I say he's a bad liar. Sometimes he lies about things that if he had actually told the truth, it would have been better for him. Like, it would have looked better for him. So like he thinks if I lie, it'll make me look good. If people actually believe what I'm saying is the truth. But sometimes the lie he actually ends up saying hurts him even worse than if he had just told the truth. So that's what I'm saying. He's not a good liar. And maybe he's so brilliant. This is the other flip side. And we playing devil's advocate. Maybe he's so brilliant that he's playing psychology of, if I come across like a bumbling idiot in my lies, people will think something different about me. And I'm actually being genius by, I don't know. Like, it's just it's not a good look. Like, I mean, he plays out all the tall tale signs of a lie. Like, when he lies, he looks at the ceiling, or he looks at the floor, or he clenches his hands together. Like, he does everything that if a detective was interviewing him, they didn't even have to put a lie detector test on him. They could tell he was lying, but just by looking at his body language. So either A, he's acting that and knowing to do those things, or he's just, I don't know. He's just not. For someone who's running a company that large, he's portraying himself as too stupid to have been running a company that large.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into some of the more economically impactful headlines, and then we'll come back a little bit later on and talk about more SBF stuff. Does that sound good?
Let's do it. What do we got? What are some of just the headlines, and we'll jump in and we'll do some TA and then jump back into discussion.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off. So yesterday, one of the biggest headlines that was out there, other than this SBF interview, let's just get back into it right now. No, I'm just kidding. The Fed Chair Powell says smaller interest rate hikes could start in December. So this is huge, right? And this sent the stock market, going pretty high. We can check that out really quick. I'll pull up a chart. You can see, I've got my line graphs on here. Never underestimate the power of line charts every once in a while. But you see, the S&P was able to puncture through on the daily chart the 200-day moving average, which is really, really good. It hasn't done that since back here in April. So since April, it hasn't even been effective at puncturing through and breaking the 200-day moving average as resistance and flipping it to support. Hasn't flipped it to support quite yet. I don't think you can say that, but it's getting close. And this is why, right? So Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell confirmed Wednesday that smaller interest rate increases are likely ahead and could start in December. But he cautioned that monetary policy is likely to stay restrictive for some time until real signs of progress emerge on inflation. We will stay, and this is a quote from him, "We will stay the course until the job is done," he said during a speech in Washington, D.C., at the Brookings Institute. He also had another quote, and I was the one who actually said it. So let me see if I can get there really quick. It's going to take a second or two here, but it's all worth. Oh yeah, it's a funny meme. Let's see. Yeah, he said we think that slowing down at this point is a good way to balance the risks. So he said that at the Brookings Institute, and then I said it could trigger reversal into the next Fed decision on the 14th. So, a lot of interesting developments there over at the Fed, and then also we got the PCE data. But I'll throw it over to Tim. Did you have any input on kind of the words from Jerome?
I want to break this down a little bit further into the show. I think after in the second half hour we'll probably come back to this and talk about it. I on Twitter I was kind of like working through this as well with people and talking about it. It's interesting because even yesterday we talked about it on the show. Elon Musk has come out and said that if we don't start cutting rates, like he's not even talking about lowering them down to 50, 25, or even 0, like a pause. He was saying if we don't cut rates starting in December, we are heading for a severe recession.
Yeah.
Meaning we're already going to be in a recession. We're already going to hit that. But the question is, can we keep it minor or are we going to go severe? And someone asked me on Twitter, they were like, Tim, are you saying that you think we should start cutting rates? And I'm like, no, that's not at all what I'm saying. My point is, I think people, if they have not embraced this concept already, need to go ahead and prepare themselves. We are going to see pain happen no matter what happens. If we keep raising interest rates, even if it is lowering, like I think some people almost think that a 50 basis point rate hike is like cutting the rates, and that's not true. It's still adding to them. It's still making it higher, and we're already seeing the job market start to suffer at the current rate. So even though it's nice that he's, when I say nice, I mean for the interest rate hike in general, even though it 50 sounds better than 75 and 25 sounds better than 50, it's still an interest rate hike. It's still going to add to that pain of people being laid off, of recession coming in, of people suffering. The problem is if you then flip it to the other side and go with what Elon is saying and you start cutting rates, well, guess what? Yeah, companies will start being able to borrow more. People will get to keep their jobs. They won't get raises though. They'll just keep their jobs, but inflation will continue to soar, in which case everything continues to get more expensive. And so the question is, do you want to have cheap goods but not have a job? Or do you want to have a job but not be able to afford any of your goods? There's going to be a lot of pain that comes in. And so I'm not giving I'm not Jerome Powell. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know what we should do. I wish we had dealt with all this earlier. I wish back in February when Jerome Powell had the chance to start getting aggressive with interest rate hikes, he would have started back then. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
We have to deal with what we're doing right now and move forward. And I honestly don't know what the right answer is. Maybe 50 basis points is the right answer. Maybe 75 is the right answer. Maybe we just go ahead and say, you know what, screw it. We want to be all the way at 5.5. Let's do a 125. Let's do 125 basis points. Like that might be the right answer.
Yeah.
Or it could be cutting it and saying, let's just get used to inflation. And maybe that brings crypto more into the forefront. People saying, I'm tired of my dollar dying and I want to have money that I can actually have value in.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. It's extremely interesting. And, we're going to actually see another piece of economic data today. So check this out. So key inflation measures that the Fed follows rose 0.2 in October, less than expected. So the key inflation, I don't know why it doesn't say it in the headline, is PCE. So inflation rose in October, about in line with estimates, sending a sign that price increases at least are stabilizing, the Commerce Department reported Thursday. So those numbers are right here. So the actual was 5%, the revised was 5.2, and then that was the core. And then the piece, just the straight up PCE, the headline PCE, if you will, was 6%, revised 6.3. So, in my estimation of this is actually slightly bullish, right? Because these numbers are coming down from what they were originally revised from. But again, this is October's numbers, and this just kind of goes to show that the Fed is operating on old data from October. So it just, and they're not willing to change the system of that lagged data. Then what they have to do is pause. They have to bake in a pause. And the CNBC journalist at all of the Jerome Powell's Fed briefings, when he does the speech after the decision, the CNBC journalist has been asking again and again, when are we going to see a pause? Hasn't really been in the headlines too much other than that, but like a pause is really where you want to go if you're the Fed, because then you can start to see how these rate increases have actually affected the economy. Because if you're just increasing rates month over month over month, you're seeing shock in the economy. You're not seeing a change and then a reaction. You're seeing a change and then another change, and there's no time to react. There's time to react, but there's no time for the economy to settle and create a new norm. It's just having to react and respond every month. And so, that's kind of my analysis. I think that seeing that PCE of October revision, this isn't a huge headline, guys, in terms of inflation, but that came down a little bit bullish. I don't think that the market's going to eat that up too much, but it is, it's bullish. And after yesterday, what Jerome Powell said, I think that the markets are in for a green day. I would like to see what the chat thinks. Let us know down in the chat. We might even start doing a poll of this. Do you think that the markets are going to close green, red, or unchanged? I think that could
What's your timeline?
For the end of the day. Probably like 4 o'clock.
I mean, I can just go ahead and verbally say my vote would be green. I think this is going to bring short-term bullish action to crypto, to stocks, and it's just one of those things that like it'll bring short-term bullish, but I think is going to we're going to have some economic problems, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. You know what? I mean, we're kind of in the middle of this. Let's just go ahead and finish this kind of conversation up.
Yeah.
This is another concept, and you're about to go to my screen here in just a second, but not yet. A lot of people are sitting here saying, man, we're going down. Crypto's going down as these interest rate hikes are going up. So we just need the Fed to pivot. And once the Fed pivots, we're going to get some relief in the stock market. We're going to really get some relief in crypto. We're going to be able to go to the upside. Now, I cannot make an answer for crypto. We really haven't seen crypto go through a recession and serious interest rate hikes before. Somewhat in 2019, but not anything serious. We've never seen crypto have to go through this, but we do have data on what the stock market has done. So now you can go to my screen here, and this is something I referenced this yesterday, I think very briefly, and I've definitely had conversations with T-Shroom about this. But this was a tweet by Bowtie Trading. I'm sure someone else did too, but this is where I found it. I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday, found it again. I was like, all right, this is exactly what I needed. If you're looking at this chart, going back to 1969, these are the times that we had interest rate hikes. So you're going to see in this red and blue, interest rate hikes, and then there's a pivot. And in this case, pivot implied that they started cutting rates, right? That's what everyone is hoping is about to happen. Everyone is saying, man, if we can just pivot and start cutting rates, then we'll have some relief and we'll go back up. Every single time this has happened, we've actually seen the stock market fall. 1969, 36%. 1973, 48%. 1981, 27%. That's the smallest one.
Yeah.
I think, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and cut to it. I think that's probably a more realistic expectation for this one. I'll explain that in a second. I think that a 27% drop once we get a Fed pivot is probably realistic. We'll talk more about that. Let's go 2000, 51%. 2007, 58%. 2019, 35%.
Just to be clear, because it does cut off on the screen. It says
500.
No, well, no, you're good. Don't change it. But it says 500 in Fed pivots. Is that the S&P 500?
Yes, okay. S&P 500. Yeah, right, so cool. I'm seeing now. It just says 500 in Fed pivot. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yes, S&P that is 500. S&P 500. Yeah. It fell, right? And so this is something to keep an eye on. By the way, when I first saw this was months ago that I first saw this one. And I went back and had to look. I actually had to compare the dates and then go look at the charts on the S&P 500 and compare. This is an accurate chart. So if anyone's wondering, hey, Tim, is this just something someone manipulated? No, these timelines are accurate. Historically, the stock market responds negatively when we see a Fed pivot. Now, again, crypto's not the stock market. We've been seeing it operate like the stock market, but I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. Recently, crypto and stock have been doing slightly different things. Not yesterday. Yesterday, everything went up. But crypto, especially Bitcoin, has been doing some different things in the stock market as of late. The other reason why I think potentially it won't be that severe is most of these things. So they can see this one when I go back over to 1969. Yeah. Yep. This one, the stock market, S&P 500, it started to fall. It had started to fall before the Fed pivot. Went down another 36. Same thing with 1973. But the rest of these, the majority of these, they actually are pivoting as the S&P 500 is still climbing. So, with what we're currently sitting at, we don't have a Fed pivot, but the stock market is falling. That's why I said when I'm looking at this 27% right here, I think that's a more realistic one rather than 51 or 58. Because in both of these situations, as you guys can see, the S&P 500 was pretty much peaking. And then there's a pivot. So like the interest rates are being raised, but the S&P 500 kept going up, and then they flipped it, and then the stock market fell, the S&P 500 fell. I think that what you're going to see in the stock market is something more like 27, 30, maybe even a little less than that. I don't know. I'd have to, I'm not the right person to make that guesstimation. Maybe we'll get a guest on here that could give us a better explanation of what's happening there. But I don't expect this to be severe. But I did want to prepare everyone that if your thought is, wow, I just cannot stand these interest rate hikes, I can't wait for the Fed to finally just pivot, and then when it happens, I'll be able to just have all the success. Mm-hmm. No, historically, that's just not what happens. You actually see a dip continue to come into the space. So you can go off my screen now, T-Shirt. Wanted to kind of start with that is that there's going to be pain ahead. On the stock market, I don't think that the bottom is in just yet. Guess what that means, though? Everyone, when they hear the bottom's not in, I think the natural inclination, especially us crypto people, most crypto investors, I'm not going to say all, most crypto investors, like myself, are newer to the investing game. We want to make money. We want returns now, right? The problem is that the best way to actually think about making money is when you hear the bottom is not in. That should be music to your ears, because that means you get to purchase some things that you want to purchase at ridiculously good prices. Everyone wants Bitcoin to go back up to 69,000, but guess what? Do you want to buy Bitcoin at 69,000? No, you want what you currently own to go back to 69,000, which is good. Then you'll have a lot of US dollars in your account. But how much better would it be if we could say with confidence that Bitcoin's bottom is not in yet? And you could know, man, we're going down to 13,000. We're going down to 9,000. We're going down because the newer investor, again, I'm going to throw myself in that boat. I think my natural inclination is saying, why can't Bitcoin just go up so I can make more money, so I can look in my account and see more money? But the part of me that has studied and listened to wiser people than myself, there's actually an exciting thing about the fact that I can say the bottom is not in and I can go get more Bitcoin. I can go get more, I don't actually own any stocks yet, but I'm excited to invest in the stock market, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for the pivot to actually happen. I'm going to wait for the stock market to dip a little bit more. I'm going to purchase more Cardano at the next dip. I'm going to purchase more Ethereum at the next dip. I'm going to purchase more Bitcoin at the next dip. And I'm trying to retrain my ears, my brain, my gut to hear that and actually have a positive reaction rather than a negative one. I understand the pain. If you need money, here's another thing. If you are struggling right now and you need money, don't just sit and stay in Bitcoin. Go get your money. If you are struggling to pay bills, do not eat nothing but beans. Do not put your physical health at risk to say you're going to hold out, because there's no guarantee. First of all, there's no guarantee that the bottom's not in. And second of all, let's say the bottom is in. There's no guarantee that we're not just going to coast along this $16,000 region, $17,000 region for the next 8 to 9, maybe even a full year.
I'll even say if you're running that close of a budget in your own life, you should not be investing or trading at all yet. No. You're just not there, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere. But if you're like trading with money that you need to pay rent or eat food, we are not in favor of that at this channel. You need to have not only savings, you need to have an emergency fund too that is completely liquid and is not invested at any given time, and that's very important. Just cash, straight up cash, TradFi, baby. You got to have a little bit of that in the bank in case one of your loved ones break their hip and they don't have insurance. You got to help them out, right? You need to be able to have money to deploy in today's economy, which isn't crypto yet, to be able to help real people out there, because people matter more than everything else at the end of the day, and that is what's important. Well, we're about to see the market open here in the stock market. There's another story that we wanted to cover. I could cover that
let's
really
do this. Let's put a pause. Let's read some chat real quick as we wait for the stock market to open. I did see a good question. Tyler Watton said, non-investment question. T-Shroom, are you in the National Guard or Reserve? If so, how is that working with your channel? Much love from a Canadian military member.
Good question. Good question, eh? So I am in the Florida National Guard, and I am in RSPO, which is super. It's a class that comes before OCS training. So I'm on track to become an officer in the Florida National Guard, which means in the Army. It's the same thing. It's just 1 weekend a month, and it's like the reserves. It's not the reserves. The reserves is more of a federal program, and the National Guard is a state program, but is also federal. So I would have to take orders from any federal administration. And how does that work with the stream? Well, the stream's in the morning. I would never have to. I will have to miss a couple streams actually in June. But other than that, I'll be here chugging with y'all. So and loving to do that. But that's actually a good point. We should probably talk about that in June. We just set up the stream and we're just like, we're gonna go, no consequences, because we just love it so much. But
and I got some good, devastating news yesterday. Very devastating.
Oh no!
Remember I told you guys yesterday that Smay promised me that he would pop in from time to time, and that if T-Stream's ever out, that he would come in and be the technical director. Well, I found out yesterday. Like I said, this is good news. It's just devastating to me. I'm assuming he's going to get it. He had an interview yesterday to work with a company where he's going to go be a technical director for an education company.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
And so, unfortunately, if he gets the job, he's going to be working from 8 in the morning till like 5 every night. So he cannot come in and do the 9 o'clock show if he ever, maybe I'll do, maybe I told him maybe he can help with some night stuff, pop in, do a night thing or maybe a weekend thing or something. He said he's still down for that. But there goes the Smay fill-in when T-Shroom is gone. Maybe I get Zach. Maybe, definitely not high Zach. Those of you who remember him to come in and sit.
Got a couple potential backup plans, but don't worry, guys. No matter what, the army goes rolling along, right? And also, this stream goes rolling along. We never quit. Rain, sleet, hail, snow. There's not a lot of snow down here in Florida. But,
none to be exact.
Yeah. But we do what we love and we do it every day. Folks, the market is open and the S&P is opening higher. Is the NASDAQ? Okay. So it closed up 4 and some change percent yesterday, which was pretty wild. Are you ready to go ahead and kind of preview this right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So going over to my screen, you can see here, I'll go ahead and, so oil is up. Oil's kind of the big story in my mind right now, and we'll get to that in just a second. But oil is up to 2.7% right now. SPY's opening just slightly higher, and the NASDAQ is opening lower. So this is kind of what I was thinking. We have so much to talk about, but this is kind of a thesis I was thinking for today's open is that it was going to test lower on the market open just to see, hey, we just had this giant green candlestick. Let's go ahead and test lower. So my prediction is you might even come down to the halfway point of this green candlestick, but ultimately there's so much bullish headwind right now from those Fed comments and now from the PCE print. Yeah, so it's not even going to test, but I think before the end of the day, we will see kind of a retest down to the downside, and then the market's going to potentially blast off from there, but we'll be able to see how low can we go, right? How low before it just gets bought like crazy? Because, and this is the NASDAQ, going over to the Dow, kind of a similar thing, although it's been on a tirade. You can see here, it has pushed through this line of support, definitely flipped it to resistance and has gone up to the upside. If I was to draw that same line on the NASDAQ, it really has not impressed quite yet. And why is that? Well, because it has a bunch of tech names. And if we slide down here, we might even see the tech names down here are not even necessarily performing all that well at market open. I mean, we're still literally a minute in. So, you have to take what you can. But so the NASDAQ and the SPY, the S&P, have been underperforming versus the Dow Jones. Why is that? Well, the Dow Jones just has a lot more value in the index, meaning it's balanced much more towards value stocks than growth stocks. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. We'll be talking a lot more about that kind of sting later on. This is a value economy. This is a value market right now because people are trying to escape risk, right? It's the same reason why why like Tesla and Facebook are down right now versus companies like ExxonMobil and Apple. Apple, they have less risk. They're more valuable. Walmart, another value name. Disney. There's tons of value names, and the Dow Jones is balanced a little bit more towards that. We talked about oil. Let's go look at that again because there is a big story here. Oil is reversing. Now you've probably noticed at the gas pump that oil prices have come down, and you're probably enjoying that for right now, and that is fine. That's awesome. I actually suggest that there's a quick little T-Shroom lesson. I actually suggest that people keep a little bit of oil in their portfolio and try to get as close to the commodity as you can. But if you want to buy a name like Chevron or ExxonMobil to keep in there, that's probably fine too. But when you do that, you're able to hedge against high oil prices. So just with your own car. If that doesn't make sense, that's okay. We'll talk about that more in the future too. But why is oil up today, and why has it been on this tear? Well, I mean, from a technical standpoint, it got bought. It found a good spot to get bought here at the 76.17 level, right? It did wick down. And then it got bought right back up. Now, why is that? Well, let's talk about it. Here is the reason why. And it is because China is probably is the biggest story in oil right now, other than OPEC. OPEC does make a decision today, but their decision isn't expected to rock markets as much as this headline right here. China, Hong Kong stocks gain on Fed. So, and it's the second part here that matters. COVID policy pivots. So China has actually pivoted their COVID policy, and And there's been signs of some relaxation in China's strict anti-COVID curbs. China's blue chip index, CSI 300, gained 1.3 by the lunch break, while the Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.7. So another indicator that probably American markets are gonna close green. They're opening green. They're going to close green more than likely, which is actually, pretty intense because we had a huge green candlestick yesterday. Let's see if I can find anything else. Yeah. So Nuno Fuentes, portfolio manager at GW&K Emerging Wealth Equity Strategy, said that impacts of the anti-COVID strategy on the economy was becoming too great for the government to accept. Here's a quote. So our expectation is that they would exit the dynamic zero policy, and that's what we're expecting now. It's the beginning stages of exiting that policy, he said. So really, really big news coming out of China, because for so long, China has had this zero COVID policy, right? And what does that mean? It means if there's any COVID pretty much anywhere in China, other than like their Silicon Valley equivalent, which always gets the exception, we have to keep aware of that. Silicon Valley is getting exceptions all over the world, Europe, Asia, and the United States. But other than that, if there's a single COVID breakout anywhere in China, they lock everybody back down. It's just like it's February 23rd again, or March, when they issued like mid-March in 2020, right, back in the United States. Everybody is getting told by government officials, go home, stay home, and it's like that in China to this day still. Until this pivot. Now, why would that affect gas prices? Well, because in China, they got a bunch of cars, they got a bunch of people that drive them. And when you shut everything down, gas prices go lower and futures prices for the contracts of oil go lower. And now you're starting to see an uptick in those prices as they are starting to come back up because China is now pivoting that policy. More people are getting in their cars and pushing that gas pedal. So does that mean you should buy oil? Well, it means you should probably think about getting exposed to it, and I do recommend having a little bit of oil in your portfolio. Even if you're a big ESG guy and you think that oil is the next, worst thing in the entire world, that's okay. But having a little bit of oil hedges you against actually being too exposed to the price at the pump. Because think about it. If the price at the pump went up $7 a gallon tomorrow, right, that would really that would actually affect your balance sheet, your personal budget, right? But if you have oil in your portfolio, you're gonna hedge essentially against those losses, and your portfolio actually goes up in value to try and hedge against some of those losses that you would experience with your credit card at the pump. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tim, did you have any thoughts about this China pivot?
I was looking at the U.S. crude oil. Some things that I'm interested in looking at. You can go to my chart. I'm watching this on the Fibonacci to kind of get a little reference here. We're getting some nice pump. I'm going to spread it out so people can see a little better. Yeah, we're getting a nice pump going on right here, heading towards that 0.5 level on Fibonacci, $84, give or take. What's interesting, you're looking at these RSI and the Luxembourg oscillator. It's showing that it's getting closer to being overbought. But I think there's still some room to go on this 4-hour chart. As you go up, on the charts, going to 6 hour, it gets a little lower, 8 hour gets a little, I think there's actually a pretty decent chance, and I'm going to show you guys why here in a second, that I think we actually end up popping, maybe hesitate around the 0.5 level, and then start going back towards that golden pocket on crude oil. Now, that might not be good for people's gas prices, but the reason why I think that oil is actually heading this high, something big happened, and I talked about this yesterday, and I was wrong yesterday. So this is what's really good about having a daily show, is you can make calls, and you can say, I think this might happen, and then you find out pretty soon after, all right, I was wrong about that, but I'm so glad I was wrong, because this is what's going to cause a lot of different things you guys are investing in to go up. Let's go over to the Dixie. I don't know if people are paying attention to the Dixie today. The Dixie just dropped. Now, why is this drop so significant? Let me go to the 4-hour chart right here. Yesterday, I discussed how we had set a double bottom right at, when you scroll out, going out to the daily chart, on Fibonacci, we had sat right at that 0.382 level. Remember, I talked about this a little bit, saying that 0.382 level is kind of the last point where the bulls, in this case, because we're moving up, can kind of still have this feeling of saying, hey, we're still in control. The fact that we broke that is actually massively bullish for investors out there because now you started to open up. We did not double bottom here. Let's zoom back in. We didn't double bottom. We actually have further to go. It seems like the remarks from Jerome Powell actually are forcing the dollar to lose value. And in this case, when we're talking about our crypto investments, that should be bullish for them. Potentially, could we see it drop all the way down to this 0.5 level at 102.159? And we have not seen that price. We have not seen a price on Dixie ever since back in June of this year. And even then, we were there very temporarily as we were making our way up. Potentially, are we seeing the Dixie start to lose some value? That historically should be good for Bitcoin. Speaking of Bitcoin, let's jump into some technical analysis over on some crypto. Starting with Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to start, nothing really special has happened short term. If I were to zoom in short term, let's go to the hourly chart. I still am looking at this level right here, somewhere around 17,600, potentially maybe even peaking back to this point we had back here in November on the 10th, around 18,000, maybe this range. Ultimately, though, this box right here, zooming out, this was former support that we had for many months that we were using, and then we broke through it. Watch it be turned into resistance, this entire zone. It's not just that bottom line. Even watch this top line on 18,800. But for right now, keep your eyes on what's happening there. I want to give you guys an outlook, a bigger outlook. Let's look out on the larger time frames. This is actually really exciting to help us maybe predict the bottom coming in. It's not guaranteed. New things can happen all the time. But I noticed this. I want to give a shout out to Dan from Crypto Capital Venture. He was talking about this, and I had not seen this before, and I am super excited about what I'm about to show you guys. Kind of giving us an indication of what we can be expecting. Let me get rid of my oscillators for just a second. It's going to have to do with Fibonacci. Now, I'm looking right now on the linear chart. I want to go to the log chart really quickly because I like to use the log chart when I'm doing Fibonacci. And I'd noticed before there wasn't a lot of correlation you could do with past bull and bear markets when using Fibonacci on the log chart. And I'm going to show you guys. We're going to go back to the bottom of the pandemic back in, what was that, 2020? And we're going to go to the peak right now. Currently, we are sitting right, we've got back above, we were hovered right there at the 0.5 level. All right. So 0.5 on Fibonacci. That's a significant point. And it helped us a lot. That's happening. But there are a lot of people calling potentially we're going down to this golden pocket around 11,000. And that's very much still in the cards. The reason why I couldn't do much with this information, let's scroll back and let's look at past bull and bear markets. Come on, screen load for me. All right, so this again, log chart. I want that to be the big thing I take away. I'm looking at the log chart right now. If I were to go down to the bottom of the last bear market back in 2015, right here, we extrapolate over to the peak that we had in 2017, we came down and touched the 0.382 levels. All right. So the reason I'm saying that is because you can't make a call. You can't look at this market, this bull market down to the bear market and say, oh, we're going to repeat that because we went lower. We went all the way to 0.5. Even more so, let's go to the other one back here that we had the bottom of the bear market back in 2011. And then the top of the bull market we had in 2013. We didn't even come all the way down to the 0.382 level. Tim, what's your point here? When looking at the log chart, there's nothing to extrapolate from this information to predict where we could bottom out. So it's really hard if you're using the log chart to actually make a call on that. The reason why that is because log chart, if you're on the log chart and you're using Fibonacci, it's going to give you different levels than if you go to the linear chart. Let's go to the linear chart and let's play this out. So this is 2011 to 2013. Where do we bottom out on Fibonacci? Yes, we go a little bit below it, but it's right there around the 0.786, the 0.786 level, okay? So this is maybe a starting point. Futuristically, let's look at this. What happens around this level? Let's scroll over to this market. And of course, it's a lot bigger because we're looking at the linear chart, but I'm going to extrapolate it over. Got to really zoom. There we go. Where we bottom out? Not quite at it. We dropped below the 0.786 level and then used it as resistance. We traded sideways right below it, and then we bottomed out. Currently, where are we sitting? Right below the 0.786 level. And we're heading back up. Look at where 0.786 has the level at. It's that support level. I'm going to zoom in even further for you guys. It's the support level that we were just wrestling with back here between June and the fall in November. Now, again, this credit needs to be going to Dan from Crypto Capital Venture. He's the one who was talking about this. He had a box, and I can't remember his exact levels, but he's still saying, this box could send us down maybe somewhere as low as like 11,000, 13,000, somewhere in that region. Mm-hmm. But the point is, this is playing out when you're looking at the linear chart using Fibonacci. this is playing out what the bottom has looked like historically for the Bitcoin markets. It is a wrestling with the 0.786 level. They wrestle with it, then they break below it, and then it becomes a resistance for a period of time. This is kind of what we're talking about. Like, we could go lower, but I also think this is further indication we're maybe going to be sitting here sideways for a little bit. Not absolutely. We could break up and go to the upside and break this out, and it'd be a different market. But we've seen twice before, 2 other bull and bear markets, this was the place that was wrestled with to determine what the bottom is. So for anyone who's sitting here wondering, hey, what can we be expecting? Keep your eyes on that level right there at about, what is that, 17,600, somewhere around 18,000. This could provide significant resistance that keeps us going sideways, which, again, are you going to make your returns very quickly? No, not necessarily. But this is more time to continue to DCA, to continue to grab as much cash as possible to be investing in Bitcoin, because as long as we're at these low prices, you're going to be able to invest and make millions in the future because of how much you're able to buy at these lower levels. So I wanted to show you guys that. I found that really fascinating on Bitcoin. And once again, said it before, say it again, shout out to Dan. I can't wait to do some collaborations with Dan. I love Dan. He's one of my good friends in the crypto space. I don't think he ever does stuff early in the morning, so I don't expect him to ever come on a live show with us, but potentially maybe some evening and afternoon videos where him and I do some stuff. Him and I have actually, we talked about this, real pods where I jump onto Ethereum and Cardano. Speaking of, what time is it? All right, we got some time. I want to start a series. I don't know if I'm going to put this on Twitter and maybe do Twitter Spaces. I don't know if I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'll have to think about it. Maybe get your guys' intake as well. I want to start like a series that's like almost called blank outside of crypto, or something to do with like, who is this person outside of crypto? And because Dan and I have talked about this a lot, you guys get to listen to us. Those who are subscribed to both of us, you guys get to listen to us talk about crypto and investing all the time, which is awesome. But there's so much more that people have to offer when it comes to outside of crypto. Who they are in their personal life. What are their hobbies? What are they doing? What are the things they wrestle with as actual people? I want to start a series where I actually just get to, like a podcast, I get to talk to other influencers in the crypto space. And it's not that crypto will be avoided completely, but the point of the conversation will not be to talk about the market. The point of the conversation will be to talk about life in general, struggles, failures, successes. What's their prayer life look like? What are they going through right now on a personal level? So you guys can get to know some of these faces a little better. I know you love them. You love these influencers. You get to hear them and watch them every single day break down the market. But I want to expose and really get into who they are as people outside of crypto space. So let me know what you guys think about that series. That's something I want to jump into in the future. But let's keep going and let's do some TA on some other coins. I'm going to be briefer with these ones. Ethereum, I didn't get to touch too much on this. Couple things we're looking at here in Ethereum. Larger time frame. Yes, there's a breakout point. We dropped below it right here, but these points have continued to be very, very important on Ethereum long term in a falling wedge pattern. You guys see these 2 dotted green lines. So keep your eyes on that. Yes, again, we broke below it, but we jumped right back up into it, and those lines became significant once again. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. When you're doing technical analysis, do not throw lines away. If it was support and then it's broken as support, don't just throw it away, because it could play a key role in resistance or support down the line. That's just what happened here. Support, support, support. We broke it. It actually turned into resistance very temporarily, and now it's being utilized as support once again. Same thing with resistance level. It has several key touches along the way. We just tested it again here earlier in November. You have a point there?
Keep on chugging, but we've got some good chat to circle back on.
All right, let me get through Ethereum, and then we'll do chat before I get into Cardano.
For sure, yeah.
Shorter time frame. Let's just zoom in here, and I'll stay here on the daily chart. Same kind of thing happened, only opposite. We have another falling wedge happening in shorter time frame. We had a breakout here temporarily, but came back into it, and this resistance level was just broken once again. So I'm really excited to see what happens with Ethereum. The more important detail here, just like I was talking about with Bitcoin, this flat level of former resistance turned support, turned back into resistance, has just been flipped again, and I love that red candle, what we're seeing there on the daily chart. And let me go down the 4-hourly chart so we get more of them. The fact that we struggled with the top of this support level, resistance level, broke through, and now we're utilizing it as support, to me is super bullish for Ethereum. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. Of course, we had the exciting news here happen a month or 2 ago where they have flipped, and they actually had a triple halving happening where it's not exploding necessarily as much as I thought it could have exploded, but there's a reason why Ethereum is actually outpacing other altcoins, and it's because they have some amazing things happening fundamentally as a project right now. So keep your eyes on what's happening on the Ethereum chart, but right now, very major bullish bounce off of former resistance now turned back into support. Let's go ahead and engage with some chat here, and then we'll jump back into some Cardano TA.
Yeah, so it gets personal here, but it's a good personal.
Oh, no.
Taylor Warren, maybe you've heard of her.
I saw her name, yeah.
Yes, I am 14 weeks and a couple days, and Tim is elated because, and I have to issue a congratulations because it's a boy.
It is a boy.
Right? Well,
yes.
Be congratulations either way. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on all that?
I've known now for about a week. Yeah, no, we just found out about a week ago.
Awesome.
And it's one of those things. So Taylor and I had talked about it. I feel just me personally. If we had found out it was a girl, I would have loved that little girl, and I would have learned. I would have been like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to be a girl dad. I grew up with family friends who had children. That's why I actually got to grow up in a very tight-knit community where I got to engage with young children all the time. I was more comfortable, though. I feel like I'm going to be a good father to a boy. I feel like I have a good grasp on how to raise a son, how to engage with them, how to push them, how to challenge them, how to love them, and to grow them. I would have figured it out with a girl, but I'm very happy to get my feet wet in fatherhood with a boy, where I'm gonna have more of an understanding of what I need to do as a father. But someday we'll have a girl. I think Taylor was hoping for a girl, not because necessarily she just didn't want to have a boy. Literally, almost all of our nieces and nephews are nephews. We don't. I think we have a total between my siblings and her siblings 2 or 3 nieces, and then it's 13 nephews. So I think in her brain she was like, "There's just so many boys in our family. It's time for a girl." But no, that's not what God decided. God said the boys need to keep on chugging. So that's what we're doing. So thank you so much to everybody who's wishing us the best. And yeah, I'm excited. We'll, down the road, we'll give you guys a teaser on what we're thinking for names. Jeffrey Fritz and Matt C actually already know what we're thinking for names. But don't tell them. Don't spoil it. We'll release that information down the road.
Is it Sam?
Bankman, actually. No, I was kidding.
All right. Well, it's 9:51. If I may, I'd like to show a trade that I actually just placed.
Let's do it.
And a quick strategy, and then we'll wrap it out by talking about SBF.
Yeah.
So really quick, guys. So this is natural gas, and this is kind of an ongoing strategy that I've been employing, and I'm going to show you guys in the best of my abilities what I like to do. So so you have the price of natural gas, and then you have boil and you have cold. Cold are triple leverage ETFs, up and down. Cold is the down, boil is the up. So if you want to go long on UNG, right, it's green today, you might want to buy boil to gain triple exposure to the price movement of natural gas. Okay, so what do I like to do? So my bias, and this is the important part, my bias and my conviction right now is that natural gas is going to go up and test these levels. This is the 1 hour chart, by the way, up here, and it's going to continue to go higher. Now look where this price has been historically, and not too long ago, you can see that these prices were much higher. So these were in the mid to low 30s. Just back in August, right? And that was, a lot of effect of how natural gas was shaking, the price of natural gas was shaking out in kind of the context of the war between Ukraine and Russia. But now, back on the hourly chart, you're starting to see that the price of natural gas has been trading on these levels really, really predictively. And so what I've been able to do is just go ahead and say, hey, my bias is that the price of natural gas going into December and into January and February, the coldest months in the US and Europe, that the price of natural gas and probably oil too is just going to absolutely skyrocket, or at least that it's going to have a bullish bias. So what I've been doing is accumulating all through here natural gas to the long side through the ETF boil. But what I like to do also is take short positions, meaning just buy cold along the way, right? So let's say I take a long position here and a cold position, a short position at the same time. What that allows me to do is, yes, I'm going to take a loss as this long position comes down, but all I do then is just DCA back into it, and I buy more down here, right? And then what you have to realize is that the cold position, even though the price is going down, the value of cold is actually going up. And so then I sell cold, right? And then I have that money liquid, and oftentimes that's the money that I use to DCA back into it to the long. And what this allows you to do is, as long as you have a strong conviction in an underlying asset, and natural gas is a really good one to do this with, you can trade this. And Caleb Franzen actually calls this farming. Farming has a different context in crypto, so it's maybe not the best word, but it's a useful term, because you're milking to the downside. You're milking one of the instruments, and then you're just putting the profits from that into the other instrument that's going the opposite way. And it works both ways. Like if you have a bias against Tesla going down, which a lot of people do, you can just milk it the other way. Now, there aren't any ETFs that have direct exposure to just Tesla, so you'd have to actually buy puts and get into the options world and that layer too. Which I don't do, because I like to use these ETFs. It's just simpler. And if anybody out there is an options trader who watches the channel, I'd be really interested to hear kind of what your strategy is here. But anyway, so that's a position I actually took live on stream. I didn't do it before you just now. I didn't take any position, but about 15 minutes ago I did. And what did I do? So I bought more BOIL. I went longer, allotted more to my long position on BOIL. And then I also bought about 75% as much in cold dollar value. Why? Because I think the price of natural gas could come lower. And so I wanted to get exposure to that too. But I put a tight stop loss. So if it goes further, then I lose a little bit of money on that short, right? But that's fine, because my long is going to make up for that, especially in the long term. And what I like to think about it is the money you lose in this strategy, the money that you lose in the stop loss, is actually, you just think about it as a fee to do this whole trade. And if you're trading on something like Robinhood, which is what I use, then you're not paying a fee to actually trade, even ETFs. So yeah, that's my strategy with UNG, natural gas, through the triple leverage ETFs, cold and BOIL, and we'll most likely be talking about that a little bit more. So Tim, we can go ahead and talk about Bankman, or we can talk about that strategy.
Well, I think we have a couple minutes left. We're gonna have to end without getting to talk about everything we want to talk about, but we can continue some of this conversation, because only new stuff's gonna come out. We can continue that tomorrow. What I did say, I promised people I would do very, very, very fast Cardano TA.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of wrap up and let you guys know what you're expecting here. And very, very brief. This is less than 2-minute technical analysis of Cardano. We're still sitting right at the support level of a falling wedge on Cardano. Super bullish. Cardano's not been doing anything special recently in the last couple of days, the way that other coins are doing it. There's a suppression thing going on, though. Let's go down to the 1 hourly chart. This will be the last thing I show you guys. Keep your eyes on what is happening here, because we are developing an ascending triangle, which traditionally breaks bullish. This has been a flat level, this flat zone of support now for ever since the 20th of November. So this concept of having a flat top, but now we're starting to see the bottoms begin to rise. Watch for an eventual breakout. Let's get some volume back in Cardano, because volume has been stupid low on Cardano. But once that happens, if we can break through this level of resistance, turn it into support, let the bells start ringing, Cardano might actually start to do something. We will keep you guys posted on what is happening there. You can go off my screen now. As we wrap out today's stream, first of all, thank you to everyone who came and joined and has subscribed. If you are not a subscriber yet, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Also, we're a smaller channel. It's going to be hard to get a lot of notifications from us. So make sure you hit that bell and that you get every single update when we go live. I know it's going to be hard. We have 429 subscribers, 431 subscribers, something like that. I'm sure that number has grown a little bit while we've been live. But as T-Shirt mentioned earlier, one of the biggest things you can do to help us get bigger, faster, so that YouTube supports us and you guys can see more of our content, smash the like on everything, comment in chat, get our engagement up in chat. But then also, when the video is over, if you don't mind, go down and leave a comment down below. I'm actually going to do my best I can, especially early on, to respond to every single comment you guys have there. So you can go in that comment and just tell us how much you love us, That's awesome. Love the support. You can go and give us recommendations for what you want to see in future shows or future content. You can tell us where you'd actually disagree with us and give us your take, your opinion on what you think is happening. We talked a little bit about SBF. We talked a little bit about Jerome Powell and what's happening in China. What do you think is happening, and how do you think the crypto market and the stock market world will be affected by those three pieces of information? We've got a great show. We already have stuff lined up for tomorrow's show, some topics we want to touch on, but we'll probably dip more into some of the topics we touched on today as well. So make sure you don't miss it. Guys, we're going to be live every single weekday, unless there's some crazy emergency, from 9 a.m. to about 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you don't miss a single episode. T-Shirt, am I missing anything else before we wrap out today's stream?
Share. Share.
Yeah.
We're early days here, so share this with people who would value it. Maybe people from other crypto communities who are just really, really excited about your new YouTube channels and want to buy them while they're cheap, right?
Yeah.
You can be getting in early. So just definitely share. And
follow us on Twitter. Follow us on. That's nothing. We're gonna be giving a lot of updates on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm at Tims_TA. T-Shroom is at T-Shroom. Go follow us. I've been stuck. I'm sitting right below 9,000 on Twitter. So if anyone is watching right now and is not following me on Twitter, help me get up to 9,000 on Twitter. That's the other thing. We're going to be growing over there really fast as well. So you guys are OGs, not only of our YouTube channel, but of our Twitters as well. We're still smaller Twitter pages, but Investing Bros is going places. We're gonna grow. And here, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm gonna close out kind of with this. I want to make sure you guys feel attached to this and understand. A lot of channels will say like their goal is like become the largest channel, most famous channel. I actually was thinking about it. I don't think that my goal and T-Shroom's goal, I don't think we want to become the largest channel. I don't think we want to have the most subscribers and the most followers. And the reason why is because a lot of times to be able to get numbers that are just absolutely ridiculous, you got to start compromising your morals. You got to start doing some things that you really don't believe in. You got to start just doing nothing but these crazy clickbait things. What I want to become is the #1 resource for honest, good, integral input on the crypto and stock market world, where every single day, whether we're right or wrong, we are coming to you with complete honesty. We're not going to try to just be flashes in the pan and do whatever we can to get your attention. We want to actually see people be successful and build a community that people know, hey, this isn't a BS space. This is a real space, and these people actually care. So if that's something you guys love, consider doing everything you can every single day. Like, subscribe, comment, forward, share. Do everything you can to make this community grow as large as possible. But we will never, never, ever compromise our morals, our integrity, and just go for clicks and likes. We are going to keep these things 100% honest and real. Love you guys. That is all we have for you in this show, but we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a